Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Zelda Adams from the Adams family, who you guys most likely already know if you're watching this channel from Hellbender, the fantastic film released earlier this year on Shudder. I'm so happy I could make this happen. I'm just excited that we could talk about the film in the year that it was released. Being able to talk to somebody who's actually made a feature film is cool no matter what the size of the film. So again, I'm very appreciative of this. And Hellbender is seriously one of my favorite films of this year, one of my favorite horror films, one of my favorite films in general. I have a list of every film I've ever seen from that, that's been released in 2022. And Hellbender is up there. I think it's the top 15. Again, I love it. And we'll go ahead and get started.
Great. Thank you so much. Absolutely. So another film, like this is pretty specific, but that definitely had an impact on Hellbender was The Descent.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Especially in the scene where the mother is climbing. I won't give anything away, but she's climbing down something pretty nasty in the end of
Yeah,
the film. And that definitely, had a lot of inspiration from The Descent. Also because all three of us, The Descent is one of our favorite films.
that's
So we
cool.
wanted to take something from that. I mean, personally, it's an animated movie, but I try to just like take a lot of advice from this film the best that I can. It's Coraline. That movie made me feel extremely uncomfortable. So if I can try to do that in any of my films like Coraline did, I think I've done something well. And another film I think we tried to take some inspiration from was The Witch. And most of
Yep.
this is because it's my mom's favorite film. She could go on a 15-hour rant about that film, but it has the woods in it. It has witchy vibes, so we definitely loved playing with that film a little bit.
That's awesome. I love the variety there. I totally didn't expect The Descent. And then Coraline is totally an unsettling film. I watched that in a hotel when I was a kid. I remember the experience because it was so unsettling. I remember my mom and I were looking at each other like this is a kids movie? Like it was
Yeah,
so scary. And then
I
as for
know.
the last film, The Witch, I just got the chance to see that for the first time this week. And
Oh
that was
wow.
amazing. But and when I was watching that, that's I just kept thinking about Hellbender, and I'm like, there needs to be more witchy films. Like I love it. I love it. And my girlfriend, she loves witchy stuff, so she's like, give it all to me. So yeah, I love it, and I think Hellbender definitely has sparked people's interest in a way that will be seen in years to come.
Oh, well, thank you. Witches are the best. So if someone is watching this and wants to make a film, make a witch film. They're fun.
And totally not comparable in tone at all. But you've got some of the greatest witch films with The Witch, Hellbender, Hocus Pocus. Like,
Yeah.
like I absolutely love it, and I want you to know that people out there seriously do love it because it's an awesome film and just seriously shows like the opening sequence specifically showed me I was like, holy, a family made this on their own. Like it was just it's awesome,
Oh,
and
thank
I
you.
couldn't appreciate it anymore. What was the most difficult scene or day maybe to get through, not necessarily from an acting standpoint, but just from a production standpoint as a whole?
Hmm. That's a really good question. I mean, I would at first say the opening scene because that was the like most people we've ever worked with, but those women made it so easy to work with. The weather was there with us, the light was there with us, so that definitely wasn't it. I think actually, we shot a lot of this film in the winter. There's that like, maggot scene and the whole like adventure after. And that was a really cold shoot day where my mom and I were rolling around in the snow. And I will admit it was hard for me to go through that scene. But also, it's funny because it was so fun to make that scene, just playing around in the snow and blood. But seriously, just like working in the cold it's tough, but I think totally fruitful because it looks great on camera and blood looks really good on snow.
So you've worked as a actor, writer, director, and even cinematographer, I believe, on the film. What was the biggest takeaway from tackling so many different roles? What was like the one thing that you're like, wow, I either loved that or I really didn't like that? What was like the one thing that you're like, oh, I now learned that from this specific shooting process?
Well, I definitely have learned that cinematography is my favorite part of filmmaking. I've never been exactly one for words, and I feel like I can express myself the best I can via, like, via a moving image.
Yeah.
So I love that. Um, and always after we make our film, my mom is doing most of the post production like business, and I've realized I don't like that. She she's she's incredible and works so hard on it, but I don't know if I could see myself working through paperwork and having to talk to a lot of people. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work no matter which end you start on, post, pre-production, actual production. It's always a nightmare in the best ways because you're like, hey, I'm getting a movie made, but it is very,
Yeah.
very stressful.
Yeah.
So that leads perfectly into the next question, which is what draws you into filmmaking as a whole? Is it the horror genre? Is it acting in general? Obviously, I'm assuming it's not acting anymore. But like, if there's one driving force for you, Zelda Adams, to tell stories, what's that thing? Is it cinematography?
It really is cinematography. Um, I mean, there's a part of me that wants to say it's to tell stories, but I think I'm just so interested in how to tell stories. And my mind every day is just completely visual. I'm always thinking about, oh, how this would be a shot in a movie. Oh, if
Yep.
I was making a movie with this site in front of me right now, I'd do this. So yeah, I think that's what draws me.
The horror genre is obviously most well known for being scary, and then obviously having a few kills in there, and then as for today's standards, the amount of kills is very much a thing to consider when making a horror film. Did you guys consider that at all? Because it really does have a low body count,
Hmm.
which is I think it's a good thing because it this movie doesn't need a lot. It's terrifying in its own emotional ways. It yeah, it's scary in ways that most horror films released now aren't. So yeah, just explain to me how that came to be.
Yeah, so we were wondering whether we should have had, more, like body and like death horror throughout the movie, but I think that would have taken away from the punch of the ending.
Mm-hmm.
So something that we wanted to do instead was make sure that something exciting happens every 7 to 10 minutes to keep the audience engaged. So we were always making sure that something creepy just happens. There was some awesome effect. Yeah, because that way I think it kind of replaces the stimulation that the audience normally gets from like a dead body or a killing.
Yeah, I think that's great too because audiences might not, a lot of people. There are there is a group of people out there that say if I don't get my kills in a horror film then it's not a horror film, which I completely disagree with.
Yeah.
But when people watch this film, they might not even realize that they're getting those kills substituted with things that are much more rich in emotional substance and just the matter to the story, like it matters to the long run of the story. It's not just there to gross you out or to scare you real quick, and I appreciate that, and I know everybody else does.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And something that my mom likes to say, and I'm going to copy her here, is it's at least we think it's important to like write a story, write a drama. Horror films are basically just dramas, but you just cover them with a little bit of blood. So it's not all about killing, but it's also a lot about the story and how you tell it and how it's like, I don't know, maybe symbolic for an idea and how you use horror to like push that idea.
I couldn't have said it better. I mean, you see the poster behind me, Jaws. I watched Jaws for the first time in theaters. For the first time in theaters, it's my favorite film. But the first time seeing it in theaters, I was just like, the whole time I'm like, wow, this is just about manhood and fatherhood and just trying to right your wrongs, and like Alex Kintner's mom smacks him for like he tried to do what he. I love it. I could babble on about Jaws forever, but it's just quick example of how it's really is all about drama and emotion, and why you should care. You need to care for a character in order for the horror to work. So.
Oh
And
yeah.
I cared for Izzy. I cared for the whole family, even though it's a wild, wacky story. That actually, I just came up with another question. What did you drink with the worm or with the tequila? Was there anything, or was that just acting? Because I would assume it was just acting, just a little like a fake gulp or whatever it was. But you never know. Maybe you threw a gummy worm in there. I don't know.
It actually was a fake gulp, and I drank apple juice so I wouldn't be like drunk on the
Yep.
job.
Nice.
But the scene where Amber gives me like a beer, that was like non-alcoholic beer that like I really did not like the taste
Yeah.
of it.
Awesome. And then the last one, I don't know if you're going to be able to give me any real answers to, but can you tease anything about the next Adams Family venture, or maybe just your next project?
Oh, absolutely, I can. So we're actually wrapping up our next film right now, editing wise. It's called Where the Devil Roams, and it's about a family. John, Toby, and I, my parents and I, all act in it, and it's about a family on the carnival circuit in the 1930s, and when they're not doing their act in the carnival, their not so good act, they're doing some robbing and stealing, maybe a little bit of killing. But on one of those endeavors, something that really bad happens to the parents, and the daughter, me, is left to pick up and sew together some of the pieces. So
Okay.
I think it's a really exciting mix between Bonnie and Clyde and Frankenstein and Grapes of Wrath, all this fun stuff.
All right. That sounds awesome. Bonnie and Clyde is the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, Bonnie and Clyde meets, I don't know, like the freak show season of American Horror Story. Like that's kind of what I
Yes.
thought. So, and then actually, I'm gonna ask one more question. That movie sounds quite a bit different in budget and scale. If you're doing the 1930s, what the heck is that like? Trying to make something that's truly like a a period piece.
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to really try to do something different. I've always been in love with period pieces and like the carnival, carnivals and film. Like, I love the season of Freak Show. Some people don't like it, but I loved it. And so I've always wanted to create something in that world. Um, and we've always wanted to make a timepiece together. So we did have a little bit of a bigger budget for this film. Still not big compared to
Yeah.
other production companies, but basically my dad, with the help of like my sister a lot, and like my boyfriend and my sister's boyfriend and me and Toby, we created this entire like set and world for the carnival. But also we have access to my grandpa's like antique cars, and we drove a lot around the world, around America in the beginning, and like captured footage of like old towns in the West.
Cool.
So we're doing it the best we can in
Yeah.
a low budget style.
That's how you do it, and I love it. I love the venturing around and traveling to do it. So I love that aspect of it. I'm What day is it? It's Wednesday today. Next Monday, I'm in Washington State now, and I'm moving to Atlanta, Georgia for filmmaking.
Wow.
And so next Monday we're driving across the country, and I'm like, I got to make sure I got my camera ready, because I don't know what I'm going to shoot, but I just, again, it's one of those things where when you're traveling across country, you got to have it ready, and especially when you're making something like that, I love just having it ready, being like, oh, could we use that? Maybe, I don't know. Most likely it'll be deleted later, but you know what? It doesn't matter. At least you have it.
That is so cool. First of all, congrats on your move.
Thanks.
And I'm excited to, figure out I'm excited to see what you create there. And also, yeah, we did the same thing. Like, we were traveling from, I don't know, I think it was like Colorado to New York. my dad just started filming skies in case we like needed it, and now it's like a very prevalent theme in our film. So
that's awesome.
yeah.
You know, you never know. That's truly like you never. Is there something? This is the last question, and then I'll let you go. Is there something of because most big budget productions, you know, you hear like, oh, Chris Evans took home his Captain America suit or whatever it is. There's things like that. But obviously, when you're working on a film with your parents, I'm assuming you can take or keep almost whatever you wanted. Is there anything that you decided to keep from Hellbender?
Oh, we keep basically everything, like especially the red crown.
Oh, yes.
That's like our mantelpiece.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I think definitely the crown is like a highlight for us. Like, we eat our dinner around it.
That's awesome. Okay, well, that's basically it. I'm again so appreciative of you taking your time to do this. Sorry for the little hiccup that we had here.
Thank you.
So
Thank
yeah,
you so much for today.
Yeah.
I like truly appreciate your questions, and I look forward to watching your film.
Thank you.
I am so excited.
Thank you so much. I mean, again, I once I can find that physical copy, it's going right up here along with all my other horror films. So again, thank you so much.
Love.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day. That's all I have.
Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Later. Thank you guys so much for watching. And again, thank you, Zelda, for joining me in this wonderful conversation talking about Hellbender, one of my favorite films of the year 2022, and a film that I will continue to talk about for the rest of my life. Thank you so much for joining me, and I can't wait to see what the Adams family does next. If you guys like more videos like this, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I would like to do more content like this in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Carter Scotland Allen, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.